"I thought you'd never return," the cowboy whispered as he stood frozen at the sight of her. Years had passed since the Apache woman disappeared without saying goodbye. He had convinced himself their story was over. But now she was standing before him again, carrying an old secret she had kept hidden all these years. When she finally told him why she had come back, the cowboy realized that the past had never truly let them go. For 10 years, Samuel Carter had convinced himself that he would never see Elena again. He had tried to forget the morning she left the valley. He remembered watching her ride toward the eastern hills until she disappeared beyond the trees. He had wanted to follow her, but something inside him told him that she had made her choice. So Samuel stayed. He worked his ranch, repaired fences, cared for his horses, and watched the seasons pass. Life became quiet. Perhaps too quiet. Then, one cool morning, Samuel was standing outside his barn when he noticed a rider approaching from the eastern trail. At first, he assumed it was a traveler looking for directions. He watched as the rider came closer. Then he froze. He knew her. It was Elena. She looked older than the woman he remembered, but her eyes were exactly the same. Samuel slowly walked toward her. For several seconds, neither of them spoke. Then Samuel finally whispered, "I thought you'd never return." Elena climbed down from her horse. "I almost didn't." Samuel stared at her, still trying to understand what he was seeing. 10 years had passed. Why had she returned now? Elena looked around the ranch. "Is this still your home?" Samuel nodded. "Always has been." A faint smile appeared on her face. "I remembered." They stood quietly near the barn. Samuel had 100 questions, but Elena looked nervous, as if she was carrying something she had struggled to say for a very long time. Finally, she reached into a small leather bag. She pulled out an old cloth bundle and carefully opened it. Inside was a small wooden carving. Samuel immediately recognized it. He had made it for her many years ago. He had given it to her shortly before she left. "You kept that?" Elena nodded. "All these years?" Samuel looked away for a moment. He had never expected to see that little carving again. Elena then placed it carefully back inside the bundle. "I did not come back because I suddenly forgot the past." Samuel looked at her. "Then why did you come back?" Her expression became serious. "My father left me a letter." Samuel's heart tightened. Her father had been gone for years. "What did it say?" Elena looked toward the mountains. "It mentioned you." Samuel was silent. She continued. "It also mentioned a promise you made to him." Samuel remembered that promise. Years earlier, Elena's father had asked him to protect something important if trouble ever reached the valley. Samuel had agreed. But he had never learned what he was supposed to protect. Now Elena had returned with the missing piece of that story. She looked directly at him. "I came back because I need your help." Samuel knew at that moment that the past he had tried so hard to bury had finally found its way back to his doorstep. Samuel invited Elena inside the cabin. She sat beside the old wooden table while Samuel poured 2 cups of coffee. For a few moments, neither of them spoke. 10 years had created too many questions. Finally, Elena placed the old letter on the table. "My father wrote this shortly before he died." Samuel carefully unfolded it. The handwriting was unmistakable. Seeing those familiar words brought back memories he had tried to leave behind. Thomas had written about an old agreement concerning the valley. He believed important records had been hidden because someone wanted to keep the truth from the families who depended on the land. Samuel looked at Elena. "Did your father ever tell you where the records were?" "No." She explained that she had spent years searching for answers. Then, recently, she discovered another clue inside an old family chest. Her father had written that the answer could be found near a small cabin in the northern hills. Samuel knew the place. It had once belonged to an old friend who had left the valley many years ago. "What do you think is there?" he asked. "I don't know." Elena looked down at the letter. "That is why I came back." Samuel studied her face. "Why wait 10 years?" She took a slow breath. "Because I was afraid." "Afraid of what?" "Of finding out that I had been wrong about my father." and afraid of seeing you again." Samuel gave a quiet smile. "I wondered if you had forgotten me." Elena looked at him. "I never did." The room became silent. Then Elena pointed toward the letter. "There is one more thing." Samuel read the final lines. Her father had written that if Elena ever returned, she should trust the man who had kept his promise. Samuel looked at her. "Did he mean me?" Elena nodded. "I believe he did." The next morning, they prepared to leave for the northern hills. Neither knew what they would find there, but both understood that after 10 years, the truth was finally waiting for them. Samuel and Elena left early the next morning, following the narrow trail toward the northern hills. The journey was quiet at first. After so many years apart, neither knew exactly what to say. They spoke about simple things, the changing valley, the ranch, and the places they had seen during the years they were separated. By late afternoon, they reached the abandoned cabin mentioned in Thomas's letter. The wooden building stood alone among the trees. Samuel pushed open the door. Dust covered the floor, and an old table stood beside the cold fireplace. Elena unfolded her father's letter again. He wrote that the answer would be where the morning light enters. Samuel looked around. There was only one narrow window facing east. A beam of sunlight fell across an old wooden shelf. Samuel walked toward it. Behind several dusty books, his fingers found a loose board. He pulled it away. A small wooden box was hidden behind it. Elena stepped closer. Her hands trembled as she opened the box. Inside were several old documents and another letter. She recognized her father's handwriting immediately. "He left this for me." Elena unfolded the letter and began reading. Thomas explained that he had discovered important records concerning the valley. The land had been intended to remain shared by several families, but the original documents had disappeared. He had hidden copies because he wanted to protect them until the truth could be revealed. Elena wiped away a tear. "My father was trying to protect our home." Samuel nodded. "He was." Then Elena noticed something else inside the box. A small photograph. She picked it up. It showed her as a young woman standing beside her father. Samuel smiled. "I remember that day." Elena looked at him. "You were there." Samuel nodded. "I took the picture." She smiled softly. "You remembered." "I never forgot." For a moment, they simply looked at each other. After 10 years, the past no longer felt so distant. But the documents had raised another question. If Thomas had hidden the records to protect the valley, they now had to decide what to do with the truth. Samuel and Elena returned to the valley with Thomas's documents. They showed the records to several families who had lived there for generations. At first, everyone was uncertain. But as the old signatures and markings were carefully examined, the truth became clear. Thomas had been right. The valley was never meant to belong entirely to one family. The discovery finally gave everyone a chance to settle the old disagreement peacefully. Elena stood quietly while the families discussed the records. For the first time, she felt that her father's final wish had been fulfilled. Later that evening, she and Samuel walked beside the river. Samuel had been carrying one question since Elena arrived. "Was finding these documents the only reason you came back?" Elena stopped. "No." Samuel looked at her. She took a slow breath. "I came back because I wanted to see you." Samuel was surprised. "After 10 years. I never stopped thinking about you." She explained that leaving had seemed easier than facing everything she felt. She believed time would make the memories disappear. Instead, the years only made her realize how much the valley and Samuel still meant to her. Samuel smiled. "I thought you had forgotten me." Elena shook her head. "I tried." They stood silently beside the river. Then Elena handed him the small wooden carving he had made for her years ago. "I carried this because I wanted to remember where I came from." Samuel looked at it. "And now?" She smiled. "Now I think I know why I came back." For the first time in 10 years, neither of them felt like saying goodbye. The weeks that followed brought a quiet change to the valley. The old land dispute was finally settled, and the families began working together to repair the river crossing and restore the nearby trails. Elena decided to stay. She spent her days organizing her father's letters, maps, and records, making sure his work would not be forgotten. Samuel returned to his ranch, but the place no longer felt as lonely as before. One evening, Elena stood beside the trail where she had left 10 years earlier. Samuel walked toward her. "You are not thinking about leaving again, are you?" Elena smiled. "No." Samuel looked surprised. "Why?" She looked toward the ranch. "Because I finally understand that coming home is not just about a place." She paused. "It is about the people who make you feel that you belong." Samuel smiled. He remembered the young woman who had once ridden away, believing she would never return. Now she was standing beside him again because she had chosen to come back. Elena looked at him. "You really thought I would never return?" Samuel laughed softly. "I did." She smiled. "Then I guess I surprised you." "You did." The sun disappeared behind the hills as they walked toward the ranch together. 10 years had passed, but their story had never truly ended. Sometimes people take the long way home. And sometimes, after years of waiting, they finally find their way back to where they belong. If this story touched your heart, remember that sometimes people leave our lives for reasons we may not understand, but the right paths can eventually bring them back together. Like this video if you believe true friendship, loyalty, and kindness can survive even the passage of time. Subscribe and turn on notifications for more original Western frontier stories filled with mystery, emotion, courage, unexpected reunions, and unforgettable moments from the Old West. Comment below. If you were Samuel, would you have waited for Elena after all those years? Share this story with your friends and family and remind them that some promises are worth keeping, no matter how much time passes. Thank you for watching. Until the next story, remember that sometimes the longest journey can lead you right back to where your heart belongs.